Hello, and welcome to the Come to Your Senses podcast. I'm your host, embodiment-based coach, Mary Lofgren. Here, we explore how to live bravely and beautifully through a lifestyle of embodiment. You'll hear gems to empower you around mindset, mindfulness, somatic psychology, and neuroscience, as well as beauty, food, style, and the art of slow living to meet your soul through the senses. I am so happy that you're here. Let's begin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Come to Your Senses. In today's episode, we are going to be talking about 3 of my favorite things. 1 is beauty, 2 is home design, and 3 is the way that the goddess expresses through you and your life and your taste and your preferences. And so welcome to your personal episode of Divine Feminine HGTV. In today's episode, we're going to talk about fostering a relationship with that goddess energy, because the way that that energy presents within each of us is different and unique. And so we're going to talk about how to find your unique template and how to bring that into your home through tiny tributes. I'm going to share with you some of my favorite books and resources for learning about some of the more goddess-centric spiritual traditions and rituals, and also how to use that as inspiration, but ultimately foster your own personal relationship with goddess energy in your home and in your life. And I personally have been knee-deep in goddess energy lately as I've been preparing for Ravish, an evening of art and embodiment, which is a free party that I am throwing on November 9th at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. You can RSVP and save a seat at schoolofsensualliving.com/ravish. And this evening that I'm planning, much like all of my offerings and events and coaching services, is going to be an extraordinary night of being moved and inspired by beauty, as well as learning how to bring some of the virtues of art. And I personally believe that art is how the goddess and this unnameable force we sometimes call God becomes visible to us in our human experience. And so how to bring some of those virtues into your everyday life, because you don't have to be an artist to live an artful life. But ultimately, the intention of this night, much like the intention of the podcast, is to bring you into the energy of a deep breath. We all know the expression, everything is energy, or energy is everything. And yet what I find is that particularly in the personal development world, so much of what we might regard as energy attunement is the mental and has to do with the more cognitive element of energy. And this night is going to inspire and open your mind to new ways of thinking, but it will be enveloped in the embrace of beauty and the genius of art. You'll also witness the big reveal of something I've been working on for months, which is called the Come to Your Senses Coterie. And I could not have created it without you. A few months ago, I sent out a survey to get a sense of what you desire to deepen your practice of what we share here at Come to Your Senses. So I'm so excited to pull back the curtain on that. And once again, you can RSVP at schoolofsensualliving.com/ravish. There is a link below this episode. It will be recorded, and I can't wait to deliver to you an unforgettable evening. Join us. so where we're going to begin today is with a paragraph from one of my favorite books on creating an embodied, diverse, individualized relationship with goddess energy. And that book is called, got it right in front of me here, 365 Goddess by Patricia Telesco, a daily guide to the magic and inspiration of the goddess. And Patricia says, our ancient ancestors, the world over, looked to nature and the force behind all creation, the goddess, to provide insights into the way the world works. They did this recognizing that a truly healthy and happy existence wasn't forged solely in the temporal fires of earthly life. It depended on blending, balancing, and tempering everyday reality with spiritual principles. And this book offers a ritual for every single day and honors a different goddess every single day. It is an invaluable resource, and I so recommend picking it up. We'll put a link to it in the show notes below this episode. And what I love the most about that paragraph is the way that she describes the goddess as the force behind all creation and provides insights into the way that the world works. I know sometimes I can get very caught up in trying to figure out the binaries of God and goddess and trying to come up with some sort of gender neutral way of regarding this energy, like the universe or creator. And every single day I get in my head about it because every single day I pray and it's like a Rubik's Cube that's missing a sticker. And what I love about this paragraph is that it describes goddess energy as this archetypal categorization of the energies in which the world works. That includes our human experience, the truths and laws of nature, the cyclical nature of our world, and the way that that is mimicked and reproduced inside of our own bodies and our own emotional cycles. And so where we're going to begin, our first gem to inviting the goddess into your home, is where do you find the goddess? So for many people, it's in images and statues and crystals and oils and all sorts of what some might call new agey types of tools. And if that's true for you, rock on. But where I also find goddess energy is in my favorite burlesque performers, like Pearl Noir, the main attraction, Mr. Gorgeous, Angie Pontani, where there's this unbridled expression. There is this revelation of clever wit and intellect through some of the narratives and storylines that are presented in burlesque. So that's one of the places I find goddess energy. I also find goddess energy in icons like Andre Leon Talley, who was an American fashion journalist, stylist, creative director, editor-at-large of Vogue, and just, again, had this magnificent expression upon the altar of the body through fashion, and who pressed and transcended gender binaries in his expression. He actually died at the start of this year, so rest in pleasure, Andre. Highly recommend his documentary. There's going to be a lot of resources shared in this episode, and so I'm tracking them, and we'll put them in the show notes. A place I find goddess energy is in the movie Advanced Style, where Ari Seth Cohen roams around the Upper West Side of Manhattan photographing women over the age of 60 who have continued to express their unrelenting zest for life through their love of style and fashion. And he documents the lives of these amazing, artistic, lavish icons of beauty. Justin Vivian Bond. I know I'm going on, but part of me wants to describe my own relationship to the goddess, but also help to give you some resources to expand your experience of the goddess. Justin Vivian Bond is an extraordinary cabaret performer, and I highly recommend checking out their Instagram for inspiration. And if you can, going to see them perform in a show. And so as you can hear, I find the goddess on the aisles of Manhattan. And you might find the goddess on the shores of Hawaii or in a church in the south of France dedicated to Mary Magdalene, or in front of your altar as you gaze upon hippie, fleshy statues with spirals moving through the belly of the statue. Wherever it is you find her, find her. And if you haven't had a lot of experience with goddess energy, I'll invite you to look around your space right in this moment. I notice that energy of fluid creation and flow in the curve of the wood on a drawer of the dresser that I'm sitting next to. I notice goddess energy in the tusk of an elephant on the bolster that I happen to be sitting on. I feel that energy in the very existence of a bolster, which is there to position the knees for maximum comfort and flow in the body. There's a nurturance there. And so once again, you may already have your hot spots and sweet spots to find the goddess, but you can always take yourself on a goddess adventure or a goddess walk to see all of the ways that she may be peeking out at you, flashing herself for your attention. I remember growing up, I had a relationship with a fairy godmother who was more akin to Mists of Avalon, something you might see there, as opposed to the classical definition of a fairy godmother in Cinderella, let's say. And she was very wise and very mystical. And I could feel her most when I was outside in nature and on a rainy day carving into rocks secret messages to her in a secret language. And then I would go to church, where there were many messages about the inferiority of the feminine. And yet, the very place that we keep the body of Christ, the most holy place in the church, is the womb of the sanctum. And where the host is delivered from is the cup of the chalice, an eternal symbol of the feminine. Looking around the church, there are statues of Mary and Saint Teresa and Mary Magdalene in the Stations of the Cross. The cross itself is considered a symbol of the masculine and the feminine meeting together. And I take so much comfort in that, in knowing that she was there all along. And so where is it that you find the goddess? Because that is going to be at the center of how you bring the goddess into your home. The next gem is beginning at the beginning with a house blessing. Another book, another resource is called Path of the Christian Witch by Adelina St. Clair. I read this book around the solstice in 2020, and I read it in one day. I took an entire day to just lay on the couch. It was so delicious. It's such a fond memory. And I really appreciated hearing one woman's story about growing up in a Christian faith and being incredibly identified with that, and then having an awakening around the feminine and around the goddess, and her merging of both of those worlds where she doesn't have to choose one or the other, and all of the symbolism that she brings into her life around her faith. And I remember going into my pantry And it was, the night of the solstice, so very auspicious night. And I turned out all the lights in my house and I lit candles in every window. And I took a bowl and I put cornmeal for nourishment and sugar for sweetness and salt for groundedness and protection. I put rosebuds. I had a few dried rosebuds, and so I put those in for love and for protection and for romance in my home. And then I put some glitter for a little pizzazz and razzmatazz, because what would life be without it? And I put that under the light of the solstice as the light was returning to the earth. And then the next night I went out and I sprinkled this potion in a circle around my home to create a blessing and a cleansing from my home. And so the reason I say start at the beginning is because having a relationship with the goddess in your home for you may start with having a relationship with the home itself and offering the home your prayers and your blessings and your appreciation and this gesture of a gift of beauty. The next gem also centers around beauty, as much of this episode does, and that is to create a conversation with the goddess throughout your home through small symbolic gestures and altars. So personally, I am not a central altar kind of person. I don't have a decorated altar in my home, although many of my friends do, and it's beautiful and very grounding when you walk into their home to see that. Jen McDonald, I'm talking to you. But I have several altars in my house that are tiny gestures. So for example, in my bedroom, I have this beautiful Balinese shelf that holds a silver box with a horseshoe on it that I purchased after my father passed away as a place to keep a few sacred objects. Inside of that box is a lock of his hair. And also inside of that box is a lock of Winnie's hair, my dog Winnie, who passed away a couple of months ago, a clipping of her fur. And there's a couple of other sacred objects in there. And I sprinkled on the shelf some of those rosebuds. I always like to keep dried rosebuds in the house. And then I put a flameless candle in front of the box. And it is so precious to have my two most beloved, dearly departed souls in my room with me, where I can just turn on that candle anytime I want to honor them and remember them. It's like Insta prayer. It's so beautiful and so fulfilling. In my kitchen, I like to keep candles as a tribute to my personal favorite patron goddess, which is the goddess Hestia, or Vesta, as she's known in the Roman tradition. Hestia is the goddess of the hearth. You see her anytime you see a soft, warm flame. It is thought that the crackling of fire is said to be Hestia's laughter. And she is an origin goddess. She is the first goddess in the Greek and Roman lineage. She is a kind and caring, compassionate goddess. She is what governs the feeling of a hearth in a home. And what I love the most about her is that she doesn't have those very specific attributes like Aphrodite, for example, goddess of love and passion, or Artemis, goddess of the hunt and clarity and desire. Hestia, to me, has this sacred fire within energy. And when I close my eyes and take a sacred pause and go to the hearth within myself, that is where I feel Hestia's truth and her simple sensuality of simple pleasures, like a pot boiling on the stove. So, candles in your kitchen, friends. Get on it. You will not be sorry. You can also take a broom, sprinkle some cinnamon oil on it. Trying to remember what the witches' brooms are made of, dry, twiggy things. Why can't I remember? Someone comment on the post on Instagram. What am I forgetting? Okay, I paused recording. Straw broom. Straw broom sprinkled with some cinnamon is a beautiful way to clear your home and also to bring in that warm energy of the goddess Hestia. And the last gem that I want to offer is in keeping with this conversation on symbols, is all of the different ways that you can bring the goddess into your home through symbols. Things like a bowl of pomegranates at the center of your dining room table, seashells in your bathroom to honor Aphrodite and that salty energy of being born from the sensuality of the sea every time you step into the shower. You could have a beautiful, elegant cat statue on your desk, which honors the goddess Bast, a goddess of joy and dance and fertility. And I do want to say that Bast is an Egyptian goddess, Aphrodite, Hestia, these are Greek and Roman goddesses. And this conversation would be incomplete without talking about cultural appropriation. One of the things that I've been doing lately that I'm really enjoying is researching the Norse tradition of Yule, which is a holiday that honors the solstice. And it is traditionally a Germanic holiday, but hails from that Northern European region from which my ancestors are from. And I've been reading a lot about Yule because I'm teaching a retreat in December called the Yule Retreat, Savor the Season Through Your Senses. And I'm so excited. We have one spot left. So if you'd like to join us, you can go to schoolofsensualliving.com/retreats. It is going to be an extraordinary time. And I have always wanted to have an immersive experience of honoring some of these traditions that I just feel so called to over the holidays, such as placing a candle in each window and having a Yule log and the aroma of juniper and all of these different sensory treats and treasures that are true to my ancestral lineage. It's very, very rewarding. And to go back to what we shared at the start of the episode, really researching and exploring your relationship to goddess energy, once again, is about understanding these archetypes and creative energies of life itself that are presented in nature through the slinkiness of a cat or through the precision of an arrow. And so as you admire and revere goddesses from other cultures, you may want to dig a little deeper and see what is that archetype or that essence that this goddess represents that I recognize in myself and in my own life, and to find a way that pays tribute to that inspiration and even gives back instead of taking, especially if you are, like myself, of a white colonizer lineage. And I'd love to close this episode with a few select quotes from the author and scholar John O'Donohue, which is one of my great inspirations in understanding and wrapping words around the sacred. And this is a passage about longing. Longing is a place where I feel that goddess energy as not just the general energies of creation, but as what wants to be created through me, through attending and paying attention to the deep, deep cravings of my heart. And so here's John. Blessed be the longing that brought you here and quickens your soul with wonder. May you have the courage to listen to the voice of desire that disturbs you when you have settled for something safe. May you have the wisdom to enter generously into your own unease, to discover the new direction your longing wants you to take. May your dreams gradually reveal the destination of your desire. May you come to accept your longing as divine urgency. May you know the urgency with which Goddess longs for you. That is from To Bless the Space Between Us, a Book of Blessings by John O'Donohue. The last line does use the word God, but I threw Goddess in there. I took some liberties to create an opening for that specific energy that emerges when we use the word Goddess. And so, my loves, one last time, if you would like to be drenched in Goddess energy, and really this energy of making sense of things that may not make sense to your mind, in which only the beauty of art and poetry and song and image can do, come join us at Ravish on November 9th, an evening of art and embodiment. You can RSVP at schoolofsensualliving.com/RAVISH Ravish. I cannot wait to see you there. And thank you so much for listening. See you next time. Would you like to live your life as a masterpiece in creation rather than a project to complete? If so, join us for Ravish, an evening of art and embodiment. The beauty of this night will change you without you having to change a thing. Come and make your life a masterpiece